What are you doing? Gonna put a set of trim tabs on. These are Bennett self-leveling tabs. These are the 6-inch variety. This is what you want to use on your Jonboat. Basically the easiest way to go. They're self-adjusting. Really haven't done anything else to the Jonboat since I built it. Everything's been working fine. Haven't had any problems. Everything's tight. Performs good. The only thing I've noticed back here, when we are on plane and moving, the water comes up really high up here. So that tells me one of two things. That is, we need to get the back end up while we're planing, and it also helps me keep the bow down. So when I'm out by myself with the dog, I tend to ride a little bit bow down as much as I can, keep from pounding and porpoising. But what I've noticed is, because this is a 1436 Jonboat, it's narrow. So when you get on a plane, it wants to push the back end down into the water because there's not a whole lot of buoyancy down there. There's only 3 feet, so when you only got a 3-foot wide boat, it tends to push the boat down in the water. So these little guys, what they will do is they will lift the rear end of the boat a little, and then once the boat gets to the proper riding level, I'm hoping to keep the water down around here instead of up here, because every once in a while you get a wave and it doesn't splash in, but it's just annoying, and you can just tell the boat's not perfectly flat. And the only other thing I also noticed, so I have the cavitation plate even with the bottom of the hull. On a typical Jonboat setup with this motor and about the same weight, 2 people in max, it's gonna ride probably a little bit low, and because the rear end is squatting a bit, I'm getting a lot of splashing coming up, and it's hitting this trim motor, and it's spraying up in a V, like on the sides of the motor, like a V, and it just, like, it comes up and just sprays right here, and you can just tell it's dragging. So these trim tabs are gonna do kind of a double duty. They're gonna lift the back end up, and I'm gonna get this right here up in the air a little bit, because what happens when your rear end is too low in a Jonboat, it's flat, you get what's called a bulge, and that bulge of water comes off here. So what's happening here, I want my cavitation plate even, but that's with a perfectly flat stream. If the back of the boat is riding a little bit low, you need your cavitation a little bit higher, because that stream's gonna bulge. But even if I do have it higher and I get that bulge, it's gonna hit this trim motor and it's gonna splash. That's what's happening, because you can see this thing sticks down a little bit right here. So it's coming up and it's hitting that and it's spraying. And now with the back end low like it is, it's spraying even more. So these trim tabs are gonna not only lift the back of the boat so it rides better, planes easier and quicker, it's also going to eliminate some of this bulge that I'm getting. If the bulge is down here, then it's gonna give me perfect amount of water hitting here with a little bit to spare, because on these motors, they can ride anywhere right about in here in this little section and be fine without spray. But once you get up into here, you're gonna get spray. It's gonna hit these bolts and that stuff, and it's just gonna spray, and it just gets everything wet back here, and salt flies everywhere, and it just makes it harder to clean the boat when you're done fishing. So for now, we're gonna go ahead and install these trim tabs. Just take this off to get it out of the way. I'm gonna go along and kind of narrate as I go, so you guys get a vibe for what I'm doing here. First thing we want to do is decide where we want this thing to land. I want to keep this as close to the bottom as possible without it being too low. So I'm going to bring it up about a 1/2 inch. So that is going to give me where I want this. And I'm going to put this right in place. And then I'm going to feel under here, make sure I got about a 1/4 inch. I don't want it to be too low. Okay. So I've got about a 1/4 inch right under there. I'm going to get a line across the top. I want to draw my edge here so I don't get too far out to the outside. Got a sticker in the way. Make sure you get this sticker out of the way so you can mark your holes. And you also need this sticker off so that your 5200 will grab. Put our pencil here. Some pencil marks. Okay. And those all look about the right distance. Perfect. Now these are the smaller screws, so we are going to go with a very small drill bit, just enough to get it started because we're drilling into aluminum. We don't want to tap a hole. And there's flotation in here, so there's really no way for us to get in there with the plate. So we're just going to tap right in the center of our pencil mark. Don't be afraid to drill holes in your boat, guys. Just make sure there's nothing inside in the way. Alright, so you just lightly sand around it. This is flat paint, so you're not going to lose your luster. So you don't, make sure you don't have any wax on it or any of that kind of stuff. You can also wipe it with acetone or something. You want to make sure you have a nice bare patch of metal, because that is what's going to make it stick. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, we're using 5200 regular cure, not the fast curing stuff. This is much stronger than the fast cure. You don't need to wipe that with anything but your dry fingers. It's going to do a light outline of the bracket one more time so I kind of know where I'm going. This won't affect your glue at all. With 5200, less is more. A lot of people go overboard with this stuff. Just make sure you get it all on there. It'll ooze out and fill all the grooves and cracks. Just make sure you got enough on there. You can always wipe off the excess. Make sure it goes in your holes a little way. Go in all the way till you get your second screw. Okay. Now if you ever use stainless steel screws, you know to be careful with them. You know you got to run them in a certain way. Them in a little, and back them out. Run them in a little, back them out. Don't over torque them. Okay, we're going to take these in slow. We don't want to break the heads off. This is definitely a spot you don't want to break a head off. Okay, now we are in place as far as that's concerned. Put the first one down. There we go. Now I'll tell you, don't try to wipe that off, because it'll smear everywhere. When this is dry, you just take your knife, cut that off, trim around that screw, and it'll look wonderful. When you get some Karen that gets mad because you scratch their trim tabs. This is important because this is going to keep water from spraying up through those holes. Just like so. If you don't put this little plate in, your empty holes are going to be shooting streams of water up behind the boat. You may like that, you may think that's cool. By all means, leave it that way. You're allowed to have a jet of water streaming up behind your boat. No one's telling you you can't. I'm gonna level under the boat. And then I'm going to lift this up a here. pencil mark. Looks like it's coming in right underneath the handle, which is pretty good. Try to keep them level. Make yourself a little mark. Now you don't want these to be down now because they're going to go down on their own once I release this thing. So I'm just going to lift right up to this handle. And we're going to just go there. Just mark my holes. Okay, let that fall. There's no wood behind there. Make sure you're not hitting it. It's good to set your drill bit as low as it'll go just to make sure it doesn't bottom out on anything too bad. But I don't have anything behind here. So some people might. Put a nice blob on each one. Shoot it through first. Leave a nice blob. And look at the back. Looks like there's a little bit right in the middle. A little spot right in the middle where you can hit some of that. Now I like to put one in. Okay, get it in place because then it might not line up. Place. And down a little at a time. Low gear here. And that is in. Like I said, if any oozes out the sides, scrape it off with a knife after it dries. Don't try to clean it up now. So now last but not least, this thing is solid. Just give it a wiggle. Then you want to lift up on this. Pull this out. And there is your full drop right there. You can just leave them like that, like I do. There's no bunk sticking out the back, so it's not going to be a problem. So this is ready to go. This one is perfect. I'm going to do the other one. And if I see anything interesting to show you when I get over there, I will go ahead and do the video. Until then, I'll wait until they're both done, and then I'll bring you back. All right, you guys, they're both on. All finished up. Fit perfectly. See how it's going to perform next time we go out. Move over my depth finder thing here. That's off my canoe. That's not like your standard. I had that on my canoe, so I just reused it. So forgive me for that. No more scratches. I don't know, we just kept getting scratches all over the transom and the sides, all over the cap up here. Just was impossible to keep clean. So I figured I had some of that truck bed liner. Why not use that? Now this is nice and rugged. It's not going to get scratched up. Once that dries for a couple days, it'll be hard as a rock. I don't know, this just kept getting scratched up. I touched it up once and just wasn't cutting it. So now it looks a lot better too, I think. Kind of like the way the black blends everything together back here. Yeah, all right, good job, well done. See how these babies perform, and I'll make a separate video. Peace.